Understanding and Healing from Intergenerational Trauma in Society. Explore how intergenerational trauma impacts families and society, and discover tools to heal emotional patterns passed through generations. How generational trauma shapes us, and what we can do about it. Sometimes I think about how much of what we carry inside isn't just from our own experiences, but from the emotional baggage passed down through our families, and even beyond that, through entire generations. It's wild to realize that the pain, struggles, and even resilience of our ancestors can influence how we live today. This idea is at the heart of what experts refer to as intergenerational trauma, or sometimes called ancestral trauma, family trauma, inherited trauma, transgenerational trauma, or multigenerational trauma. All those terms point to a similar concept: the way trauma affects more than just one generation. Think about it like this. Someone in your family, maybe a grandparent or great-grandparent, went through something incredibly painful: war, displacement, abuse, poverty, or systemic racism. And that experience didn't just disappear when their lifetime ended. The emotional weight, coping mechanisms, and sometimes even patterns of behavior get carried forward in subtle ways. You might notice it in family dynamics, in mental health struggles, or even in the way people communicate or avoid certain topics. What's so interesting, and hopeful, is that recognizing this inherited trauma doesn't mean we're doomed to repeat history. Actually, once you become aware of these patterns, you have the power to change them. The challenge is in identifying what exactly has been passed down. Recognizing the patterns. Often, trauma doesn't show up as clear memories but as emotional reactions, fears, or behaviors that feel out of place. Understanding emotional triggers. Sometimes, hearing a story or facing a situation triggers an outsized emotional response rooted in family trauma. Seeking connection and healing. Healing can start with conversation, talking openly with family members or within support groups. One resource that really helps shape this understanding is The Generational Algorithm. It's a book that goes beyond simply explaining inherited trauma. It offers practical tools and fresh perspectives on rewriting those emotional patterns that have been stuck in families for generations. The book dives into how our brains sometimes encode trauma passed down like a sort of algorithm running behind the scenes in our behaviors and emotions. If you're curious about how to interrupt the cycle and create lasting emotional change, not just for yourself, but for future generations, definitely check out The Generational Algorithm. Buy it now on Amazon and find out how rewriting these inherited patterns can bring more peace and freedom to your life. Honestly, it's amazing how society at large is slowly beginning to understand the powerful role of transgenerational trauma in shaping communities. When you zoom out, the impacts of multigenerational trauma help explain the ongoing struggles around mental health, substance use, violence, and even socioeconomic disparities. But here's the thing. Healing on this scale isn't just an individual journey. It calls for collective compassion and action. Whether you're a counselor, a parent, a friend, or just someone trying to make sense of your own story, being mindful of these invisible threads can help us approach each other with more empathy. Addressing these wounds means creating safe spaces where stories can be shared without judgment, encouraging emotional literacy and open dialogue within families, promoting community programs focused on healing and connection. So next time you feel stuck in a pattern or overwhelmed by feelings you can't quite explain, pause and remember, it might not be just you. There's a strong chance you're carrying bits of family trauma passed across generations, and that knowledge alone is a powerful first step toward healing. Remember to grab a copy of The Generational Algorithm, your guide to understanding and transforming the emotional legacies we inherit. It's an eye-opening companion for anyone ready to break free from the past and create a healthier emotional future.